Welcome to the Division HQ. Joining me today is James Duggan.
Hello.
Brandon Tyrell.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the Division versus Destiny, which experience we prefer, the Division patch notes, and whether or not those patches have helped or hurt the game, and 5 improvements that players want to see within the Dark Zone. Remember, you can check out the Division HQ by downloading the Xbox One IGN app, the PlayStation 4 IGN app, or the IGN mobile app. We're basically everywhere. So let's get right into it. Destiny, the Division. People are making comparisons already. Which experience do we prefer? Brandon, let's start with you.
Oh, I think James should go first.
All right, James.
Destiny. Are we all agree that the Destiny is it? Because I think so. I think that each game there are differences, and there are things that the Division offers that Destiny doesn't, and vice versa. The Division hopefully will offer consistent content updates that are transparent and not muddled and confusing. And what are we getting this patch? Things like that. But moreover, I think it offers the Dark Zone, which is a weighted emergent PvP area that there is nothing comparable to that in Destiny. Sure, you can go in like these battlegrounds in Destiny, and then of course Destiny offers excellent fight mechanics, raids, loot that I actually care
Shooting
about.
mechanics, not fighting mechanics.
Well, I'm talking about encounter mechanics, like like Oryx.
I just wanted you to
encounters.
specify.
I will say though, there's more to Destiny than just the shooting, right? Like, there's nothing like popping your super. You know, in the Division, you pop your super and your numbers get bigger. In Destiny, you pop your super and I rocket towards the ground with a trail of lightning like a damn Super Saiyan.
Like a god.
And things explode around me,
You throw hammers made of dying stars at your foes, smiting them.
It's also very dramatic. So, I mean, I agree. Like, fight mechanics in Destiny are probably, they edge out Division in my opinion. Division is very good tactically as far as getting in cover and then sort of picking your targets and mowing them down, staying safe. Whereas Destiny, you feel like you're in the middle of it, you know? You feel like the shooting mechanics and the fight mechanics, the encounters, like you said, for one, but the fight mechanics in those encounters as well are just so much more satisfying.
This is a topic, sorry Brandon.
No, yeah, go ahead.
This is a topic that everybody's been talking about since like pre-launch of the game, and now that we've had time with both of them, I really wanted to like actually have that conversation here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't just want to do it for like some random reason. I want to do it because like now we've actually had a lot of experience with both products, and I feel like we can almost say which one we like more. Now I'm very biased. I host a Destiny show, so I wanted you guys to go first.
Well, you also host a Division show.
Well, I host a Division show now too, but I have to give the edge to Destiny. And
is that because it's the majority of your name?
Yes. That's it. That's my whole reason. All
right.
No. Raids, like the raid encounters are just so fantastic that it's hard to beat that out. Strikes, there's way more options there strike-wise. So you can kind of replay the story missions and that you get the same sort of experience, but I just like the variety of strikes more. And like you guys said, the shooting mechanics are just hard to be beat.
They're really fluid.
Especially with those supers.
Yeah.
You know, and Division runs into this problem where like none of its gear is that special. Like there's some cool named guns, so they kind of got that right. But like, oh man, those gloves look sweet. What are they called? Oh, they're called gloves. You know.
Sure. Yeah, and also they just don't have, you know, like we were talking about this in the first episode, I think, which was, you said, quote for quote, you get a gun that bends the rules of space and time.
Right. Yeah. No, I said that. I remember saying that.
In the Division, you get. You just get higher stats on guns. And I won't say the gear progression in Division is completely terrible, because I think there are some RPG mechanics to be had. I did feel that swapping out gear from time to time impacted my character in a big way. But like the carrot on the stick is a much smaller carrot, if not just the leafy part of the carrot, which I don't want to eat that.
Carrot top?
Yeah.
Carrot top.
Carrot top.
All right. I was about to go to Carrot Top tangent, and I was like, no, wait, stay focused.
Focus.
I will say, though, it's important to be fair in this regard, where the Division is made for a very different sort of aesthetically audience, right? Like, the Division is made for sci-fi buffs. I'm sorry, Destiny is made for sci-fi buffs. The Division is made for those Tom Clancy buffs, right? Like those clear and present danger, like modern time Jack Ryan fans, you know, like those guys, the guys that are into Splinter Cell and Secret Agent stuff. That's what this game appeals to. There are people who are going to pick up Destiny and be like, this gun just shoots mini supernovas. This is dumb. Like, why would I use this?
To that point, who is Ubisoft really appealing to here? because everybody I knew who got into the Division and didn't just immediately drop it was an MMO guy.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Destiny players, a lot of them are MMO guys and shooter fans as well. But like, I think they clearly missed the mark in terms of like captivating the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege audience, because it just none of that translates over.
I will say that maybe the aesthetic and the gameplay experience of an RPG don't match as well as they were intending, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's unfair of us to criticize the sort of setting or aesthetic of the Division and then say, well, it's because people are interested in like an MMO or something. Those are two very different points to criticize, right? Maybe you're right. Maybe the people who are drawn to the tactical Tom Clancy kind of stuff, maybe they do want like your Rainbow Sixes, your first-person shooters kind of stuff. Maybe this isn't that right appeal to them.
I guess I just disagree when the aesthetic is compromising literally every aspect of the MMO. The RPG progression, well, maybe not the RPG, well, I'll give that one a pass, but
Yeah.
the gear, the bosses, even the regular enemies you fight in the Division are the same 5 guys for the entirety of the game. In Destiny, at least you had people
There's
with
a
different
little
crit
bit of
spots,
variety.
a lot of melee mobs, like swarm mobs, larger ones.
That's a harder argument to make because there is a repetitive issue with the enemy types in Destiny.
Destiny
Sure,
as well.
there's like
Sure.
5 different types of Fallen, but you're still just fighting Fallen.
Sure.
You know, there's like 5 different types of any
Vex
of
and
the in the Division. There's like different enemy factions.
Yeah.
And there's different builds for each of those characters, but they are sort of similar.
they're like your
they
five,
both have this. Both
your
games
5
have the same
archetypes
problem.
throughout, you know, the Riders and the Rikers and the Cleaners and the LMB. Like each guy has their archetype, right? But they get progressively more dangerous.
Yeah.
They
and,
do.
and a little
That's
bit
true.
varied.
That's true.
I will say, like, I missed after the Cleaners. You know, they were all loaded with these tanks on their backs and all that. And then you kind of move out of the Cleaners into the Rikers, and like those mechanics were, you know, by and large gone, right? Like there weren't any little interactive bits on the Rikers. So I felt like the enemy types scaled back on the Rikers and then picked back up again with the LMB. I will say for Destiny though, I felt like the enemy types were, you know, largely the exact same. Like through you do a mission that's Vex oriented, and then you do
it again,
the
but
Vault of
they're
Glass.
harder.
Yeah, the Vault of Glass. All the enemies are sort of roughly the same. There's some variants like later on in the raid, right, where I don't remember what they're called, Centurions, I think, or something. But they're all basically harder, and they, you know, shoot grenades farther or whatever. They're by and large the same enemies.
Maybe there's
though.
some parallels there with within the shooter shared world.
We've been
space.
pretty hard on Division. I have to, you know, give them props like you did for the Dark Zone, though. That's an experience that, while they're still figuring it out, and we all recognize that Destiny is sorely lacking. Yes, they have the Crucible, but it's not like that open world. Like, everything's cooperative in the open world. There's no sense of danger when you run into another player in Destiny. And I think that's something that maybe they could consider for like certain areas, like player versus player
like
areas.
an emergent PvP PvE zone, right? Because that's essentially what the Division's Dark Zone is. It reminds me of sort of like early days of WoW and Alterac Valley, right, where you have this huge PvE zone. It's all PvP, but there are a lot of PvE elements within it, and then you could fight players organically as well. That's what the Division has right now that I think Destiny is lacking, but I also think the Division is lacking what Destiny has, which is a
separate
structured,
multiplayer.
organized PvP
Like,
mode.
let's say I
Yeah.
just want to fight other players. It's really hard to do that in the Dark Zone. You basically have to put your gear and time on the line. Maybe not so much now that we have this patch, but even still, you would still have to go around hunting other players, which is a great experience. I much prefer the South Shore Tar and Mill. That's getting a little bit nerdy, but basically the open world PvP experience to the structured PvP experience. But that being said, there are times when I'm like, you know what, I got half an hour here.
Yeah.
I just want to get some PvP in, some practice. I don't want to have to sift through this open world and fight all these mobs to maybe run into one player, or maybe 4, and then just get ganked by all 4 of those players.
Okay, so a quick bit of context for people who didn't play WoW. The South Shore Torn Mill was like the first area in WoW where you had sort of the Alliance and the Horde bumping heads in like an open world PvP
Totally
area.
unintentionally too.
And
Like,
that's
it was just
yeah. I mean,
players
it's just
just-
because they had
yeah.
towns close to each other, so people would run into each other, and then there'd be these massive wars back and forth. You'd go into
Was
their
that
towns.
PvP or PvE?
So,
I don't know.
so this is my point.
Yeah.
That was a PVE zone, right? I mean, that was a PVE area. You went there to get your quests and to kill your mobs, to turn in your quests. They just happened to be so close to each other that these fights would break out. That's exactly what the Dark Zone is. It's a PvP area that's PvE oriented. So you can kill other players, but what's the end goal of that? The end goal is to get more experience and get more credits to buy more guns. That's PvE, right? There's no difference between killing a player and getting that experience, and then killing mobs and getting that experience. And I think the hard black and white line of this is a PvP experience and this is a PvE experience, I feel like that can benefit the Division as well. Keep this Dark Zone as it is, right? But maybe have an area where you like walk into this neighborhood where it really just is, you know, this sort of Maganaut line where
like 5v5,
you're trying to fight over.
At that point, why not incorporate some structure into the fact that it's going to be a relatively even fight?
Maybe
or just have like a multiplayer section where you could be like, hey, let's hop into team deathmatch.
That's what I'm talking
like
about. Maybe
Grand Theft Auto does
maybe
or something.
DZ07 is a matchmaking made like capture the flag type thing where you have to go get the virus, whatever.
Or you have like a Halo simulation. I don't know. There's a ton of ways they could justify
Yeah.
it.
Because right now, if I roll in there with 4 of my buddies, I'm like, hey, guess what, everybody in the Dark Zone?
You're all
This
dead.
is a team deathmatch.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. You roll in there with a bunch of people into the Dark Zone. You're like, well, we win now because there isn't another team of coordinated agents in there that I've ever run. I've never run into another coordinated team of agents when I've gone in
And
there.
if you're in a party chat at 8,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I totally have.
I've never run into like 2 big teams of 8. Like I'll go in there with a team and then I'll meet a couple other guys and we'll all start running around together.
Sure.
And then we have like six
never
or
come
six or
head-to-head.
seven
Yeah,
people
that's
rolling
true.
around in DZ05,
You
right?
do kind of start to snowball with meeting
Yeah.
people, but should we talk about the Dark Zone changes?
Yeah, so let's get to that in a second.
Sure.
I do have to give the Division one little nod, though. Like, so we're giving the nod to Destiny right now. Destiny also has more than a year lead on the game,
Yeah.
and we're getting Incursions soon. We don't know how big of an impact that's going to have.
I think that's important. I think
Yeah.
right now we need to look at the Division the way we looked at Destiny
At launch.
3 weeks after it launched, right? The raid had just come out or something.
Recently,
And
yeah.
right now the Divisions, I guess you could call the Incursions their version of the raid.
Sure.
You know, we're still waiting on those. So it's really kind of an unfair shake. And we have to remember, a lot of people were really bummed at the end of Destiny, right? Like,
I was, for sure.
like by the end of week 1, I was like, you know, spoilers. Like Eris like hands you the gun.
Yeah.
Or not Eris.
The stranger.
Yeah, the stranger
Yeah.
hands you the gun and was like, "Good luck, Guardian," and you're like, oh, "Okay, now
You're
what?"
like, what?
Wait, now what? So
Yeah.
now I just run these dungeons.
Good luck, Agent.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. They hand you an SMG and it's like, "Good luck, agent." It's like, now I just run these challenge
Yeah.
modes. So it's a lot of the same parallels there. I think Massive is like we talked about like last week and the week before. Massive has a very defined roadmap of where they're taking the Division, and so I'm eager to see how it goes. But right now, I feel like we're all kind of feeling the same sort of burn that we felt in Destiny.
Definitely.
Sure.
That's where we stand on the Division versus Destiny. Let's move on. The Division just had a big patch, and we want to know if it's helping or hurting the game. Duggan, you've had a lot of time. What has been your feedback for your experience?
Well, so there's challenge mode changes, there are PvE changes. There's some
We have
progression
we have
changes.
the patch.
There you
6
go.
pages of notes, like
I'm gonna
right
focus.
here.
I'm going to focus on the
Yeah.
Dark Zone change because I think that is the most immediately impactful, as well
You can
as
heal neutral players,
the
stuff
one
like
that,
that.
the one that I am the most excited about. And just some pure numbers here. So keep in mind, last week or maybe even the week before, pretty much since launch, we've talked about going rogue in the Dark Zone is just not viable.
Right.
Like, you go rogue, you could manhunt, and then you get 400 DZ bucks, and then you die at rogue 0 and you lose 700 or something like
Yeah.
that. It was just in no way, besides being the most geared player in that instance, would you ever want to go rogue. And even
The
then-
risk way outweighed the
Yeah.
reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the door has swung in the completely opposite direction.
And people feel that's a problem.
Yeah,
Like I've
yeah,
read a
plenty of
lot of
people-
posts. They're like, everyone's just going rogue. I can't do anything in the
That
Dark
being
Zone.
said, I think the Dark Zone should be a place where players
Are scared.
should go rogue. Yes, you get in the Dark Zone now. It feels more like it felt in closed beta because I think the rewards are more in line with where that was. Where, you are scared when you run into another player. Again, I got that rush that I haven't felt since the closed beta of like, oh wait, is he going to shoot me? I should probably run around and not AFK and go into my menu. Where before it was just like, it was just a PvE questing zone where I was like, oh, what's up, group of 4 players? I'm going to change this out.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
So now, anyway, here's some hard numbers. So I just ran into the Dark Zone, killed the guy. Sorry, you were AFK. I'm very sorry if you're watching this. I threw a grenade at you.
Clearly,
I
he didn't get the memo.
I shot you in the head. I'm very sorry. But you gave me 1,056 DZ funds on the initial kill, as well as running out that 90-second timer, gave me 1,100 more funds, and then 1,500 experience.
So you got what, like?
So I got, in total, I got
You got
2,000.
showered with riches.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it's not huge. I have, to give you some context, I have 95,000 Dark Zone funds that I don't know what to spend on. But anyway, I got 21 100 from that, so 2.1K from that. I have, so it's a sizable amount. Anyway, and then I just saw another guy who ran me down from being rogue, and I wasn't rogue at that point, and then I decided, well, you know what, I need to die as a rogue to see how much I lose, so I gave him a couple shots in the face and stopped shooting, and then he swiftly dispatched me. So I was a 0-star rogue since I didn't have any kills, so this is less than you would lose if you were 1-star, but I have a solution for that. Anyway, I lost 1,000 Dark Zone funds, so
that's
less
sizable.
than half of what I lost from, or what I gained from going rogue. And then I lost 1,400 experience, which is about comparable to what I gained there. So basically, if you were going to go the rogue route, you're probably, if you do it well and you like 60-40 are successful 60% of the time, unsuccessful 40, you'll probably be gaining Dark Zone funds, maybe losing a little bit of experience, but that's something you can grind up very easily on level 30 mobs. And then finally, on the huge high end, I was watching a YouTube video of a guy who was Dark Zone level 53, so you can go above Dark Zone level 50 for who knows why. And he went Manhunt. Now, Manhunt before, if you died, you lost like your day's progression if you were playing
you would
all
lose
day.
hours and hours of work.
This time he lost 6,626 DZ funds and 9,811 experience, which sounds like a lot, but in the context
not.
of being level 53 and having close to like 200,000 or 300,000 Dark Zone funds, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
It's really not.
I think the difference. What is it? The like that's level 19 or 20, like about 6K, right?
Yeah.
6K
so
experience is around like level 20, right?
This
Yeah,
is a
so-
lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers. Basically,
Yeah.
going rogue now, totally viable. Do
Yeah.
it, have fun. That's what the Dark Zone is for. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are complaining about it. To which I say, like, sure, your opinion.
Too bad.
Basically,
Too bad,
your opinion
Papa.
should be respected, but like that's what this zone is for. The zone is not for killing more mobs. You have the entirety of that area of Brooklyn to do that.
Okay,
This zone
well,
is for
of those
open world
missions.
to do.
Well, let me chime in there. For me
Sure.
to like be able to access the end game content, basically the PvE stuff, which is what I really like, I need to go into the Dark Zone and get that better gear. And I can't do that because people are killing me
tell
every
me
2
you
seconds.
You're saying you're
You
casual?
don't
Is
really.
that-
You don't really.
Well, how am I going to, like, really, what's the best way to get Phoenix credits then? Like
do-
run
doing-
on your one hard
Yeah,
daily?
yeah,
that
No,
you do?
doing 2 hard dailies in a challenge or a challenging mission.
I
a day.
can't do challenging
Okay,
because
well
I
then-
can't get the gear I need from the Dark Zone.
I did challenging day one.
Well, you were specced out though.
I also
I don't know
did
if I
challenging
was.
day 1.
Okay, whatever.
You basically you get. I think it resets at what 5 Pacific, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah,
time.
every day you do
like
it.
in the
You
middle
save
of
with
the
Phoenix credits. You buy a named weapon. Like we have a list of things that you should
Sure.
do. That's a lot of time to wait to be able to access that end-game content
Right.
versus
Do you
going
remem-
to the Dark Zone, farming a bunch of Phoenix credits, and then buying your gear.
But do you remember the huge blow up in Destiny where you could only get 1 piece of raid gear a week?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well,
it's-
that was Vault of Glass.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same thing. Like it takes time to build up your character. Now, the Division screwed up, right? Like the balance on the Phoenix credits initially was really, really off.
Yeah.
So a small, the very top 10% of players got fully decked out in a week. And now it's sort of being tuned back down to where it should have been in the beginning, where it's going to take. Because think about it, this is the end game, right? Like getting your character totally geared up, getting all your high-end gear, getting all your golds, getting all your gold weapons. Like that's it. That's all there is right now. And then you go into the Dark Zone and you kill other players.
Sure.
And you amass.
I mean, but that's
you
fun,
amass great.
right?
You get showered in riches, as you said.
Yeah.
You amass great wealth.
If my huge disappointment in the initial release of Diablo 3 and how it eventually got great taught me anything, it's that you should get the best gear in the game from the most fun experiences, and that's how you make a good online persistent game that has a rewarding progression loop. And I think the Dark Zone, Vincent Genito, who gave this game, a 6.7, 6.8?
A low score.
Low score,
Yeah.
will back me up on this. The Dark Zone is far and away the best experience this game has to offer. And so I think having that tied to the best gear in the game and getting players into this emergent, open world, replayable space, as opposed to scripting out a couple of boss encounters, which the incursions hopefully will be fun and have replayability there. But like, the Dark Zone is what sold me on this game. I'm happy to see that they're addressing it and listening to feedback, and I'm super happy at the idea of them adding more things in the future to it.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think the most interesting and most, I don't know if fun's the right word, but the most interesting point of the game should be where the best gear comes from. And to me, that's what DZ07 or something, right? Like, I think the Dark Zone is is where the soul of this game lies, and the hardest part of the Dark Zone is where the best gear needs to come from. And right now, I feel like DZ06 isn't necessarily where I have to go to get the best gear. I could still get level 31 gear.
DZ01.
Yeah, I could still get level 31 gear from Phoenix credits, from random drops on mobs.
And I mean, the best place to grind up your experience, Dark Zone-wise, unless you just have a really geared group, is in DZ01. It's just like low-hanging fruit down there.
Sure.
So.
And I think there were some rumors or whispers. I don't know if it was official or whatnot. I don't know if it was rumors, but there is like a DLC areas above DZ06, right? Like something like that. There was like some sort
John
of.
Ryan and I went up there. He glitched through.
You can get through the game. Yeah.
And went up there, and it was a little bit developed. You know, I actually think that like they have a really good space with DZ01 through 06. And I just think they need to add more to it. I think it's pretty barren, kind of like the rest of the map, where it's all beautifully handcrafted. It looks like New York. But when you
I
start
also
sifting
constantly
through it,
run up to higher tier Dark Zone levels, and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. You know, like not yet.
Solo, you're really not.
Yeah.
Well, it was strange to me, because I mean, you and I are roughly the same amount of gear, right? And I think it's just the weapon because
my weapons are bad.
I took you to DZ03 and was just mowing down people in Bryant Park, and you're like, I gotta hang back. back.
Yeah, my gear is really bad. Basically, I haven't been able to get any high-end stuff yet because I have a full-time job and I have to cover 30
call
games.
him a noob in the comments right down there.
Yeah, please, noob at Destin Legary. Yeah,
You have your own domain.
yeah. Okay, so let's wrap that segment up. Did it hurt it or is it helping?
The patch?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's absolutely helping. I think there's more to be done. And I don't think this is the kind of thing that excites the player base that got very apathetic very quickly about the game. However, for those of us who were kind of enjoying the Dark Zone, or maybe not enjoying the potential of the Dark Zone, I think this patch is much closer to the mark than the previous patch. And yeah, I respect those who disagree with me, but I really think like it's about PvP in there. It's about danger. It's about
maybe not
Dark
PvP.
Zone.
Maybe you want to go in there in PvE, but if you go in there and do that, you have to worry about me coming for you.
Yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
you have to. That sense of tension was missing for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and now it's back. And I think that's exactly what the Dark Zone needs to be. And I mean, keep in mind, we're just scratching the surface as far as whether it means to go rogue. I mean, there's a ton of quality of life changes. Like the fact you can fast travel to the Dark Zone checkpoints.
Yeah, that's right.
And not out. That's cool.
Yeah,
Like
you
can
can
get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, you can heal neutral players. I mean, you get less credits for killing.
And here's why I'm going to say it's helping. It's because most of this feedback is stuff fans wanted.
Sure.
So they are listening. They are looking at the Reddit threads. They are addressing game-breaking bugs as fast as they possibly can. So any sort of patches that they've been doing have all been quality of life for the player base and the product.
And I really appreciate Massive doing that rather than just being
Yeah.
like, look, we know the vision for our game, so just bear with us.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, it's very
I
refreshing.
think we've seen that in the past, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work because
Yeah.
it's basically waiting for the players. It's not praying, but it's banking on the players' goodwill of staying in your game until your vision coalesces into whatever it is you think it should be.
They're being so open with their
Yeah.
player base. It's kind of phenomenal.
Yeah,
to see.
so I mean, kudos to that.
I absolutely. I think that's one of the best traits to have in an online persistent multiplayer game, because like you're creating an experience that your players want to play. And if they don't, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep this developer unnamed, but I remember having like kind of a candid discussion with the developer. He's like, we need to maintain kind of control of where we push the product, because if we just cater to the audience, we lose control and it's we're no longer respected. And I'm like, sure, at some point, okay, you need to make the big decisions. And that's up to you, but like, man, listen to your player base, especially when it comes to this
with a
kind of
product
stuff.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to move on to this final subject.
Which Massive is doing, so kudos to them so far.
All right, so finally, let's talk about something that's been kind of fun. Over on Reddit and on IGN and everywhere on the internet, basically, people have been coming up with new ways to make the Division better. So here's some of the stuff that we kind of collected to showcase the ideas the community has been coming up with.
Sure.
Duggan?
All right, let's do it. The first one is called The Purge. This is circulating Reddit from Exalted Net.
I mean,
From maybe a movie, I think. Yeah,
there's a movie called The Purge.
Yeah, I know. So his idea, and this is pretty much almost directly all quotes from him. So for 24 to 48 hours, preferably on a weekend, so like a weekend event, they make the Dark Zone an area where you cannot lose DZXP or gain it, and then same thing with funds. So that progression totally stagnates, and it's just a no holds barred, like killing zone, basically. And you just have better loot everywhere, and then you increase the extraction timer. So
how is that different from what it is for me
yeah,
right
that's
now?
just
that is kind of similar.
that's just turning it into a Dark Zone times 2.
Yeah, it's like the Mega Dark Zone. It's gotten a lot of positive feedback. I don't agree with all of the points that you made here.
It does sound fun. I was being a little joking around.
Okay, here's 1 weekend a month. The Dark Zone gates get broken down, and the entire city of New York becomes the Dark Zone.
Whoa.
What? The whole map? Gank all the level 1 noobs. You just started playing, man.
Well, no, I mean, it would still have to keep the same level ranges, but...
So this is interesting, I think, for no other reason than, actually the whole incentive here is while you're killing all these people and getting all these kills and gear and extraction, you're all getting points for that, and then at the end of the weekend, there's leaderboards.
Okay.
The top X
that's cool.
people get some kind of cool aesthetic
Kind of like
item
an
or
Iron
what
Banner
have
kind
you.
of thing.
Yeah.
So that's that suggestion. I have mixed feelings about it. I like parts of it.
I think there's a good idea there.
Sure.
And like it seems like the user tried to flesh it out a little bit, but like right away, like I think Iron Banner, like everybody has a chance to get those things.
Yeah.
But this way, only the people on the leaderboard get it. There's a million people playing the divisions, like 10 people get like a gun that can kill a god.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everybody else just gets
gun
pistols.
can bend time and space.
The golden gun from 007. All right, next, Sev606 suggests the ability to drop loot you've picked up, enabling the ability for players to demand ransom from one another. I think this is cool,
sounds fun.
and I actually think they should absolutely work this into the trading update because you could right now you could exploit this for trading if they're not ready to have trading in the game. But yeah, I think that should absolutely be a thing in the Dark Zone because that's just another emergent encounter, another route you can go down when you meet somebody in the Dark Zone instead of just shooting them in the head.
I think DayZ right away.
No, that's what I was thinking too. So
Yeah.
wait, you kill a guy, pick up his gear, and then say, "Hey, give me 10,000 credits."
No. Oh, well, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. I was thinking more like you see somebody who's very new, and you have 4 of your friends go, drop your gear and we'll let you live.
Oh,
I
I
don't know.
see. Okay,
I don't know.
I see. So ransom the gear, not the money. Gotcha.
Yeah, of course, these are all ideas from the
Yes,
community, so
sure.
they're all like kind of just like fun things.
And
so,
these
yeah.
next few are, one is kind of mine and one is absolutely mine, so please
Okay.
be delicate. This one is also Sev606's, but I modified it a little to make it a bit more interesting in my opinion. And the idea here is there's a rogue agent VIP extraction. This is an NPC.
Cool. Yeah.
You meet-
I like this one a lot.
So this is an event based.
Yeah.
Yes. So a random event where you and your team need to escort and extract a rogue agent NPC for high-end drops and then some currency. Accepting the mission marks you and your team as manhunt for the duration of the mission.
That is super rad.
Yeah.
As long as the AI isn't awful, that sounds great.
that's
Like
the
he gets stuck on a
stipulation of every
pole,
escort.
just
Yeah.
like running, you know? Like he actually takes cover and runs away when somebody gets in his
Yeah,
face.
I mean,
you
think
know?
about it. It's like a named yellow NPC.
Oh, yeah.
You have to first of all kill his entourage, then
Yeah.
kill him. But when you kill him, he just gets downed and then gets cuffs, right?
Sure.
Then
Yeah,
you have
for
to
sure.
walk him to the extraction zone. That sounds like a really interesting event.
That would
And-
be so
And those
fun.
kind of random events are what I thought was going to be in the Dark Zone in the first
Sure.
place, right?
Oh, yeah.
Random named guys pop up, like random guys that everyone has to fight.
And this
World
next one
bosses.
is an absolute manifestation of that. This is my own one. I just came up with it. And it's nothing original. This is in a lot of other MMOs.
For 24 hours, Hunk McChunk becomes a god.
Yeah. So a random world spawn super boss. So
Yeah.
akin to what
Public
we saw
events.
out of that.
Yeah.
But specifically here, this is a boss that has a daily cooldown for the loot. So you kill him once, he drops a high-end weapon or really good item for you. You get it. Now if you can kill him again if you want, but you can't get that loot anymore for the rest of the day. So it's kind of another fun emergent thing you
I
can do
see.
every single day.
That's
and
smart.
this is a tank or a helicopter
Or
like
zombies.
a green poison spewing armored big rig zombies.
Yeah.
I think I've said zombies every episode. I'm keeping it going.
The killdozer.
So, and the idea here that a single four-man group just cannot defeat it on its own. So you need to have multiple groups with different pools of communication as well as different motives trying to kill this guy. And then the kicker here is that once the boss is dead and everybody has gotten their loot, it's the Dark Zone. So you can kill other players and take the high-end weapon they just got for their daily thing. And
What a twist.
So it's like, we're all killing this boss, he's super hard, he's got a ton of health and doing a ton of damage to us. Oh my god, he's dead. Mow everybody down and get all their stuff.
Can you
And
imagine?
then
Can you imagine
all
like
the
all
groups
three?
extract all of that.
Yeah, all three groups are like kind of stop firing because they want to reload. This guy's he's almost dead, and everyone like kind of stops DPS
Like,
on
getting
him,
ready with
and they start
grenades on each
reloading,
other and stuff like that.
reloading their
Yeah.
guns, healing up,
Yeah.
I think you should get the reward if you kill the boss, though. I mean, that definitely would be fun.
There's balance
but,
to be
like,
had here. I like the idea of like, even if you've done your daily, you can still be a jerk and take other people's hard-earned daily. Cool that.
No way.
The ultimate troll.
I really
No
like.
way.
Okay.
I really like that idea. I mean, I can.
There has to be a DPS threshold for like every player, so everybody contributes.
And this
But,
is
like,
a simple idea, but with the
if you
context
get
of the
your
Dark
gear
Zone, it just makes
and
sense.
then your group is just way more powerful than the other two,
then you get everyone's gear.
yeah, there has to be a way to
Survival
balance
of the
that out.
fittest.
There's an elite 1% here for sure. But yeah, so this is a simple idea. It's in games like WoW, even though not to this extent, but in the context of the Dark Zone, it makes sense. Like you kind of have that a little bit now with bosses, but just like the bosses don't drop engaging or interesting loot, and you really don't feel an incentive to kill other players for the loot. Maybe now for like DZ funds and experience, but I think this is cool because it gives you can balance the Dark Zone to a place where you're not just always killing anybody you see, but then when you add stuff like this, based on that context and that situation, okay, now it is kind of worth the risk for me to try and go rogue here. But I think it needs to be a generally more dynamic place. It's been far too two-dimensional so far.
Yeah, I love the idea, and I think you described it really well. I can picture Isaac coming over saying a priority target has been spotted.
Oh yeah, God, it would be so cool.
In like DZ04, and then everybody moves over there, or like teams of 6 or 7 AI NPCs are just like sweeping every block of the city. Just like everybody spawns on 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, and then they just start moving like to the left and like.
That was something I forgot to mention. It's you get a notification when the boss spawns, and then you get a big icon anywhere you are in the Dark Zone, as long as it's in your instance. You can see where it is on the map.
And everyone moves over.
Yep. And the emergent fun begins.
Lots of really good ideas. I'm hopeful they're going to put events in the Dark Zone.
Yeah.
I think they need to. Yeah.
I still want raids, but I mean, that might be what incursions are,
sure.
so
Yeah.
I think they're going to be like mini raids, which is basically what a 5-man
Dungeons,
or
yeah.
straight
They're going to be
is.
I feel like incursions are going to be dungeons, story
Which
scripted.
it
And that's
furthers-
kind of what challenging mode missions are, right? Like
Yeah, they're
basically dungeons.
a little light on the mechanics. I'd like to just see more. I'd like to see a boss that isn't a steroided version of a normal enemy.
Absolutely,
helicopter.
and I would like to see a dungeon that isn't like right now. The challenging missions are basically dungeons, but challenging missions are just missions that have way more dudes in it. Like you open the gates of Waterfront Power Plant, and like 10 shotgun guys come out.
That's
like,
not fun, man.
Yeah, that wasn't the original mission. And I understand why they did it because you got to get over that big obstacle
There's
first.
a difference between mechanical challenge and stat challenge.
Sure.
Challenge mode is stat challenge right now if you don't have the gear.
Yeah.
Like, it's mechanically challenging because you can't get hit by a shotgun guy because he'll one-shot you. But once you have that gear, you realize they're just normal enemies.
Yeah,
They just have a ton of HP. And
I
damage.
mean, I think mechanical functions like that in this setting would be totally plausible to do. Like one guy has to pick up the virus or the viral sample and keep moving it around so it can upload, right? And if he's taking damage, it's not uploading.
Exactly, stuff like that. And they already have telegraphs in the game. They already have that big red circle where there's a grenade. Rolling out of it was one of the best feelings initially in the game. Let's get more interesting telegraphs, like somebody with a flamethrower who shoots a huge line shot, and you'll have to roll out of the way of it or something. So there's a lot they could do here.
Brandon, Duggan, thank you guys so much. This was a ton of fun today, especially talking about those hypothetical situations.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining us also. Don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes, you can check us out on IGN at YouTube, and we'll be coming back soon to talk more about The Division. So keep an eye out in those places. Until next time, this has been The Division HQ.